Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Welcome back to Light and Shadow. I'm your host, JF. Today's topic, we are venturing into the deepest, darkest, and most misunderstood corners of human psychology, shadow work. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a moment where you snap at someone over something minor and immediately thought, where did that come from? That wasn't like me at all. Or maybe you find yourself intensely annoyed by a specific trait of a coworker, like their vanity or their need for attention, to a point where it ruins your entire day. Most of us spend our lives curation building, and that word means the deliberate selection and arrangement of physical environments, ritual, and content to filter out modern noise. It transforms passive consumption into active devotion by creating personalized, contemplative spaces and practices that helps individual anchor their nervous system and return to inner stillness. We craft a version of ourselves that is polite, safe, and socially acceptable. Legendary Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung called this public mask the persona. It is the character we play to fit into our families, jobs, and communities. But what happened to the parts of us that don't fit the mask? The rage, the envy, the peculiar desire, or even the intense creative ambitions that we were told to dial back when we were children. They don't just vanish. They get packed away into a psychological basement. Jung called this basement the shadow. And today, we are going to learn how to open that door, turn on the light, and talk about shadow work 101. To understand shadow work, we have to look closely at how Carl Jung mapped out the human psyche. Jung believed that who we think we are is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the conscious ego lies the personal unconscious, and inside it sits the shadows, the container for all the repressed, denied, or rejected aspect of your personality. Now, when people hear the word shadow or dark side, they immediately think of evil or malice. But the shadow isn't inherently evil. It is simply the unlived life. It contains everything that your ego deems unacceptable. How does it get there? It starts in childhood. Let's say you were an assertive, loud child, and every time you spoke your mind, your parents told you to sit down, be quiet, and stop being forceful. To survive and stay loved, your ego adapted. It formed a polite, quiet persona, but that assertiveness did not disappear. It was banished to the shadows. As Jung famously noted, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. When we ignore the shadow, it doesn't just sit quietly. It mutates. It turns into self-sabotage, chronic anxiety, unexplained outburst, or physical symptoms. The goal of shadow work isn't to eliminate this side of yourself, but to make it conscious, face it, and integrate it so it no longer rules your life from the background. And this is what I did when I did my own shadow work. I embraced my shadows, and by doing so, I became balanced. Now I have control of my light and my shadows equally. And it's a wonderful thing, and it's a wonderful place to be at, balanced. The art of projection. Now, what does projection have to do with this? So if the shadow is hidden in our unconscious, how on earth do we find it? The answer is projection. Because the ego cannot bear to see its own flaws, it projects them outward like a movie theater onto other people. Jung observed that what we hate most in others is often a direct reflection of what we deny in ourselves. Let's do a quick mental exercise. Think of someone in your life who absolutely triggers you. Not someone who has genuinely harmed you, but someone whose personality simply grates on your nerves. Maybe they are loud, confident, and you find them incredibly arrogant. Ask yourself, are they actually a bad person? Or is it your shadow deeply envious of their freedom to take up space? If you were raised to always be humbled and invisible, Your shadow will project anger onto anyone who dares to be loud and proud. Now that's deep. And if you really think about it, you'll know that is very true. Conversely, there's also something called a golden shadow. This happens when we project our positive attributes like creativity, brilliance, or leadership onto celebrities or mentors because we don't believe we possess those qualities ourselves. It goes to say that whenever your emotional reaction to someone else is disproportionately huge, congratulations. You just found a breadcrumb trail leading straight to your shadow. So, how do we do the work now that we know what the shadow is and how it hides in our projections? Let's talk about the practical side. How do we actually do shadow work? This isn't an overnight fix. It's a lifelong process that Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming a whole, integrated human being. There are 3 actionable ways to start doing the work today. Number 1, track your triggers. The next time you feel an irrational wave of anger, shame, or judgment, stop. Don't point fingers outwards. Instead, grab a journal or your phone and use a simple shadow work prompts. Ask yourself, what does this situation reminds me of from my past? Or what part of me I am not allowing myself to express right now? 2, analyze your dreams. Jung famously considered dreams to be the direct highway to the unconscious mind. The monsters, villain, or frustrating characters in your dreams are often personifications of your own shadow. Keep a journal by your bed and write them down immediately upon waking. 3, engage in active imagination. This is a core union technique where you consciously invite a shadow trait into a dialogue. If you feel an overwhelming wall of resentment, sit quietly, close your eyes, visualize that resentment as a character and ask it, what do you want? What are you trying to protect me from? You'd be surprised with the answers sometimes. Remember, the goal here is radical, non-judgmental awareness. You are looking at these parts of yourself with curiosity, not criticism. Turning lead into gold. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with one final thought from Carl Jung. He once wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Shadow work can be incredibly uncomfortable. It forces us to give up the illusion that we are entirely perfect, pure, and blameless. But the rewards are unparalleled. When you integrate your shadow, the immense psychological energy you used to spend burying those trays is suddenly freed up. You become more grounded, more creative, and profoundly whole. And I can vouch for that. This is exactly what happened to me when I confronted my shadows and when I integrated them. I became grounded, more creative, and profoundly whole and balanced. It is the ultimate form of inner alchemy, turning your psychological lead into gold. Go look into your shadows and be kind with what you find. If this resonated with your journey, subscribe, leave a comment with your thought on shadow work, and I will see you in the next video. And as always, what have you done to shine your light this week? The message I carefully read and answer on an almost daily basis is me shining my light. Me helping my neighbors is me shining my light. Me consoling a friend is me sharing my light. Me smiling at a stranger because I see that they have a frown, and then suddenly that frown is turned upside down because I smiled at them. That's me shining my light. So I encourage you to shine your light with others, whether it be your family, your friend, your neighborhood, your coworkers, or even better yet, a complete stranger. So thank you for joining me today. And I hope you enjoyed and learned. And as always, I wish you love, light, and shadows. Until next week.